Hello and welcome back to Prep Bytes. Okay, so in this video, we're going to be going in and creating in some additional routes, specifically for the purpose of creating our chats, right? So, because the whole point is, see, we are trying to create a chat application. So, definitely there are going to be routes that are involved with going in and creating these chats and making conversations, okay, groups and all of these. So we kind of are going to be going and focusing on that in today's video. And the idea here is, see, so far we have managed to go in and do, or we have managed to go in and create these user routes specifically for three main operations, right? So I'm just gonna list them out over here so that it would be a bit more easier on for us. So see, so far what we've done is we have created some user routes, okay? And the thing about these user routes is that we created some routes for login, we created some routes for registration, and in the last session we also discussed one protected route which was for going in and fetching all the users. Okay, so for operations related to a user, these are the three main operations we'll have to do: logging in, registration, and then fetching the list of users. Right now comes the next task in hand, which is to go in and create routes for the purpose of the chats, right? So for these specific set of chats, because it's a chat application, right? So we are definitely going to be going in and we'll have to manage all of these chats and work around with them. So in order to go in and do this, so in order to work around with these chats, we have to go in and specify which all operations or which all routes which that we have to go in and implement, right? So I would say, see, because we are going to be giving the functionality for a person to create, for a person to do one-to-one, which is P2P conversation from one person to another person, and also converse within a group as well, right? So in order to go in and do this, so the very first thing that we have to go in and perform here is the ability of a person to be able to go in and access a particular chat. So we'll have to create a route so as to go in and access a particular chat. Okay. So accessing a particular chat would mean that if it's a one-on-one conversation or anything as in such, we already have created this model for chats as well. We created schemas for chats, users, and for messages. So it's ultimately going to depend on the data that we have, right? So for accessing the data, another thing is, so if you want to access a chat, sure, that would be great. But we also will have to go in and fetch all of the prior chats that the person would have had within that conversation. So if there's a conversation that has happened, then we need to be able to go in and fetch all of those prior conversations or chats that has happened between those two people, right? And also then the next operation that we'll have to go in and do. So see, for a single person, see, the reason for fetching chats is pretty simple. A person can go in and have conversation with a lot of other people, like one-on-one with other people, and also is the possibility that the chat exists within a group, right? So all of the chats needs to be accessed all together. So for that, we're going to create this fetch chats. We also want to be able to go in and create groups. Okay, so we'll have to create a route which will specifically go in and help us to create these groups. If you are creating groups, then most definitely we'll have to be able to go in and fetch all of these groups, right? So fetching these groups. So there's going to be a bunch of routes we'll have to end up creating for chats alone. Okay, so there are going to be so many controllers. Creating the group, fetching the group, and we'll also have to do, so for example, that we want to go in and exit a group, right? Because, okay, so you're going to go in and create a chat for a group. So like you click on a group, you get added into the group. But now what we want to do is we kind of want to ensure that we are going in and able to go in and exit from the group. Okay, let me just write it as group exit. Okay, so these are the main set of operations I would say that we would want to go in and perform that are related to the chats, right? So we already created the schema and the model for the chats so that our information can be represented. But now what we want to do is we want to go in and create these controllers for accessing the chats, fetching all the prior chats that the person has had, creating groups, fetching the groups that the person has already been part of, and then exiting from the group. So we need to create one specific controller for that as well. Okay, so this is all the operation that we'll have to be that we'll have to go and perform related to that of chats. Okay, and the way we're going to be doing this is fairly simple. See, much like in the previous session as well, I had went in and talked a bit about these set of expressions and operators that you go in and get within MongoDB, right? So if you are not as familiar with this, I would suggest you to go in and give this particular article a thorough read. You can visit MongoDB, and within the resources itself, you will get basically documentation for every single operation that you want to do. Now, amongst that, you will get this documentation for operators, and that is this is what I have used in a lot for basically implementing each and every other controller. So we have a bunch of query selectors like equals, not equals, less than, greater than equals, less than equals, and not value in and value not in. So that's it. Okay, so these are some comparison operators that we have, okay, or comparison query selectors. We have a bunch of logical selectors as well. So in the case that you're using the find function so as to fetch in the information, you can specify conditions, you can specify additional conditions so as to filter out the data, because you have data within your collections, right? MongoDB basically works with collections. So you want to be able to go in and filter out the data. So these set of operators will help you with that. You have and, or, not, and nor. There are a few additional ones like exist, which comes in pretty handy, I'll say, in a lot of cases. And regex is also something which can help you to go in and parse data, or filter out data much more easily, especially when it involves a lot of emails, right? So if you want to go in and do so, regex kind of helps out quite a bit. There's geospatial ones as well, but this is for some really specific use cases. Then we have some operations in for arrays like all, size, and element match, because for scenarios where you have data that is associated with an array, you can use these. You have bitwise operators as well. Again, for really specific cases, we have element match and some additional miscellaneous operators that you might not be using in much. Okay, so the documentation kind of gives in a pretty good overview of all these operators that you can go in and utilize so as to perform query operations and projection operations on to your MongoDB collections, right? So without wasting much time, I'm going to directly just go in and take you through the code in which we have implemented these specific routes. Okay, and I'm also going to go in and show you how exactly we have integrated this into our application. So we're going to be going step by step so that you guys can go in and follow through. We'll be making the code available once the series goes in and finishes off, so that in case you want for reference, you can use it. So, but I'll highly suggest that you go in and you build it by yourself. See, because the thing about development and getting good at coding is that you kind of have to go in and make mistakes, because the only way to go in and learn coding is to make mistakes and learn from it, right? So I would highly suggest, even though we are going to be providing in the code of whatever I'll end up creating, I would highly recommend that you guys go in and use this as a reference, but much rather than using the same code, try to implement by yourself, because you might end up finding better ways, better libraries to go in and do the same tasks that we have managed to achieve so far and throughout the entire application. Okay, so without wasting much time, let me directly go in and take you to VS Code over here. And as you can see, I already have created up these chat controllers over here. So these are the routes that I've created. So I have some routes created for accessing some chats, fetching chats, creating a group chat, fetching the set of groups already created, and then another one for exiting from a group, because I had to specifically create it, because or else you get added into a group and you're not going to be able to leave it forever. So yes, so one more. So this is just the bare minimum set of controllers, okay, because if you want, I'll suggest that you can definitely go in and add in a lot more functionality into this, okay? So if there's anything specific, do let us know in the comments, right? So so access chats, fetch chats, and the thing is, both of them are running from the same route, but one is a post method, another one is a get method. I have create group, I have fetch groups, I have group exit as well. So now the thing here is, all of these routes are protected routes, okay? And much like what we had discussed in the previous session, in the previous video, protected routes, see, the authentication middleware that we created called as protect, okay? So this is the same authentication middleware that we had discussed in the previous session. This basically allows us to ensure that you or a user, a particular user, can only and only go in and utilize these specific routes if and only if he is authorized to do so, provided that he has signed in and he has the correct authorization to go in and access the chats or fetch the chats or fetch the groups or even exit from the group. You can only go in and do these operations if you are authorized to do so. So the moment you authenticate yourself, you will get access to the bearer token. The bearer token will go in and authorize you to go in and perform these set of operations. Okay, so as you can see, for all of these chat controllers that I have created out over here, all of these routes are protected by nature. Okay, because the login and registration need not be protected, because you need to do that so as to get the authorization. But all the operations related down with chats and all the operations that are going to be related down with messages, they will have to be protected. Okay, because you don't want a person to just go in and do these operations without being authorized to do so. Okay, now talking about these specific set of operations or specific set of controllers that I've created out over here, one of the things you'll notice across all of these functions, all of these controllers, is that I'm using the pre-built the express async handler, and I've just wrapped it with the async handler here. I've imported it and I've just went in and used the same. I've also went in and see, because the idea is fairly simple. We are going to require the models, both of the models that we created, the chat model and the user model, so as to go in and give an information for the specific set of tasks or the specific set of controllers that we are going to be creating. So the first thing that we want to do is to be able to go in and access the set of chats. Now, in order to be able to go in and do this, you kind of want to go in and provide one specific piece of information. That is that, okay, so I have a chat that I've had with this specific person. So you need to provide the ID. Okay. So if you're going in and trying to go in and access a particular chat, okay, the information that you need to go in and provide within the request body is going to be the user ID of the person with whom you've had the previous conversation. So you'll have all the list of IDs. Okay, the list of chats is something you'll already go in and have access to. So we'll have a sidebar, right? The sidebar is mainly used for displaying all the chats that you were previously part of. So the moment you go in and click on one of them, our access chat control will kick into the picture. It will have access to the user ID of that we're going to be passing via this particular route. And then the thing that we're going to do over here is we're going to go in and search our entire collection, which is the chat collection that we have over here. And we're going to go in and filter out the information. So here again, as you can see, it's the same set of operators that we had seen in here as well. Okay, so the same element match operator, as you can see. So this is mainly for projection operators. Okay, so element match. So this basically goes in and finds the first element in the array that matches the specified element. So I am basically just using the same here so as to filter out all of the information in my chats that I'll have within my database. Okay, so if it is equal to the user's ID, then I'll be able to go in and fetch it across from my from my database. Okay, and post that I am going in and populating the information. So the information that I'm going to be populating is all the users minus the password, because I just want the list of users. I don't want the passwords. I just want the users, and that's it. I don't want any additional information as in such. Just want the users who are part of it. That information I'll get. And I just want, I don't want the password, so I'm writing minus password. And another thing that I'm going to need is the latest message, which also is something that we had specified within our schema. So both of them are going to go and get populated, and we'll have access to all of this information. Okay, we'll have access to all of this information within this particular object of ours called as is chat. Now, apart from the users and the latest message, we are going to need some more information like the sender of the last message, and also apart from that, the name and the email. Okay, once this information is fetched across, this is a bit on the lengthy side, but this will definitely help us to do so. Now, let's say, for example, that the chat already existed, but what if the chat doesn't exist? So this is kind of what this control will also help us to go in and do. what you've done over here is, if the chat length is greater than 0, it means that the chat already existed. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and return the existing chat. Else we will go in and create up a new chat over here. Okay, this is the idea here. So if there was no chat that pre-existed for those sort of people, or for the user ID that you had provided, then we'll be going in and creating up a new chat, and then we're going to be fetching in the information much again by using the same thing, and then returning back the overall chat as an object back to our front end. Okay, so this is the access chat controller. Similar to that, we have fetch chats controller as well, for which again I am going to be going in and passing in the user ID in my response object, and if it matches that of the user, then I'll populate it with the user data, the group admin, and the latest message, removing out the password because we are not going to be needing it at all. And then we can also use the sort method over here so as to ensure that all the messages get ordered in the correct way that it should be. And then we have our very last population that we need to go in and do, because we also want the last message because it needs to show up within our conversations, right? I'm doing it a bit on the faster side, but overall together it's fair. All we're doing is we're just using the already available operators and the populate function and the find and find one function to go in and filter out the data that we need. Okay, so by filtering out the data, we're going to be sending back the result that is achieved. And if there is some error, we're going to send back an error. Similar to this, I've also created in another one for fetching groups, where if it is a group chat, if the group chat, see, because even if you go in and take a look at our schema, I've written as modals here, but it is els. Okay, that's one thing you can go in and change it out. One of the thing is model always has to be in lowercase. Okay, I think at some point I had written model with a capital M, and that would cause issues. Okay, there is a possibility. It's not a possibility. It will cause issues. So please make sure that you're writing model with all lowercase. Okay. Now, as you can see here in self, like what we've done is, I think we are at fetch groups, right? Fetching groups. Yeah, this is the one. So we have this particular information in our chat schema. Where is my chat model? There you go. So in my chat model, as you can see, we do have this particular property called as is group chat. So if it is a group chat, then and then alone, I'll go in and return it. So that's the idea here. All right. So if I come back over here, I'm gonna go 2 steps back. There you go. So if it is a group chat, then I'll go in and just send back all the data. Else I'll go in and return an error message. I also have another one for creating a group chat. So here the idea is that we have to go in and pass in some additional pieces of information. Okay. So if you want to go in and create up a chat, here the create group chat, right? So for creating up a group, you have to go in and provide it with 2 pieces of information. The first piece of information is going to be the name of the group, and the second piece of information is the set of users who will be part of the group. So as we are not exactly going in and giving the admin to go in and add users, we can actually add it in later up ahead. But for the time being though, we are just going to go in and create up a group and add the same person. So he himself will be already part of the group. Okay. And then other people, if they see a group in which exists, they can go in and join the group. Okay. So that's kind of what we're doing. So that particular operation can be again taken into account. If you want to join a group, you can go in and use access chat controller to go in and do so. And then we have this create group chat, which kind of does the same exact thing that I was talking about. We're going to be passing this the set of users and then the name of the group chat. Okay, so chat name, okay, the set of users, and then we're going to go in and create up a chat and then populate it with the requisite amount of information and pass it back, pass all the data back from a database to the front end. Okay, so this is the controller for creating up a group chat. And at the very end, we have the group exit controller, which is fairly simple to go in and do so. So we're using this particular function called as find by ID and update. So by going in and checking in this particular operation, if we are gonna go in and update this particular information, right? So if the group admin and for that particular user, we're gonna go in and update it so, and then return back the information as in such. Okay, so this is what we're gonna be going in and doing for the oral process. Okay, and then what we've done is we've managed to go in and export all of these and specify them in our set of routes. Now, once this is done, you'll be all in all good to go in and integrate them into your front end. And that's something that I've already kind of managed to go in and do. So I'll go in and showcase this in the upcoming session, in the upcoming video. But another one such thing is the next thing that we need to go in and do is create up some controllers for our messages. So we still have not created our routes for our messages. We created routes for users or the user related operation and all the chat related operation. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to go in and create some routes for all the message related operations. So that's what our next task is going to be. And that's what we'll be going and doing in the upcoming video. Okay. So I do understand that this was, I kind of went across all of these set of controllers a bit on the faster side, but all in together, they are fairly simple to implement. All we're doing over here is using the set of predefined operatives and the populate and find functions to go in and filter the data and send back the appropriate response to our front end. Okay, so this is overall in the case. Every single route that we've created, every single chat-based route that we created is a protected route. Okay, and the same is going to go in terms of the message routes as well. All of these routes, even for the message routes, are going to be protected. The reason is because we don't want people who are unauthorized to be able to go in and perform these operations. All right. So that would be all for this particular video. I'll see you in the next one.